What I have learned with Toronto being a modified stage 2, Willa, Hilton, and Hilton Hills, as well as the other one, not Hilton, but York, 2 in the modified stage 2. What that means that a lot of companies like Amazon, eBay, and Wish, they will not ship merchandise into Toronto. And the fact that Amazon distribution in Toronto, but the people deliver the merchandise to a person's door in Toronto, they're not even delivering merchandise in Toronto right now, commodified stage 2. If somebody orders an Amazon, because they can't get a delivery service, because the company they use, the trucking company use to get, delivery company they use to deliver the products to your door, Amazon, Toronto, they will not deliver a product to your Toronto. Instead, they're delivering to a post office here in Hamilton, like Shoppers Drug Mart up in Eastgate Square, and then people go to get their parcels up.
Down there, and then all the way over, and then we'll come over. This is their walk-in freezer right here. So again, we're coming there.
And what they've done is this. Here's another bad thing too, is that
But what I did was I picked the highest. These are secondary root drains in case the main root drain doesn't. I picked the highest one that didn't have any water around it, which is this one. This one has a bunch of water and mud around it, and this one's a drain. So,
well, what they've done is they ship them to a post office here in Hamilton, especially Shoppers Drug Mart, the one in Eastgate Square, all of them. And people come down to Toronto, pick up Amazon. They're told they're not welcome because it's from Toronto, Ontario. And they said, well, and then they phone the Amazon up and complain to Amazon. And I did phone them member of Parliament over this because of that too, because of. On top of that, I heard a lot of restaurants in Hamilton will not serve Toronto customers, not allow them to sit down, and they're telling them they're refusing them service, refusing them to eat and stuff. So, you know what they've been, a lot of people living in Toronto, I get really frustrated about it because, you know, a few business people who live in Toronto, but you go down to London, Hamilton to work, live in Toronto, work in Hamilton, they're being refused service in a lot of restaurants, and they said because of that, so giving Hamilton a very bad reputation in here. So, you know, that's not right, you know, because if somebody, certainly, let's suppose I live in Hamilton, worked in Toronto. Toronto not in a modified stage 2, Hamilton was. And then I go to Toronto to work and I have to go eat my lunch break. What's going to happen is I go in a restaurant. I'm sorry, you live in Hamilton, you can't dine here. Go back to Hamilton. Well, and on my 1 hour lunch break, I ain't going to frickin' go all the way back to Hamilton to eat, you know. Instead, I mean, that's true. And then then I'd be forced to go all the way back and have lunch, all the way back and miss work and late for work. They've been saying with this happening in Hamilton here, where people been working in London, Hamilton, live in Toronto, and they're getting like the bums here where they're refusing service in restaurants, or where people actually do work in Hamilton. There are a few of them. I know one person has one store in Hamilton, lives in Toronto. And he goes, every day he gets up, drives into Hamilton to his business, opens his store, and he sells wonderful handbags and everything else. That's great, he does that. You know what? He's been getting a lot of bum raps from restaurant owners here, restaurateurs. They're telling them because he's in Toronto, we can't refuse to serve him. And he's getting really angry about it. He actually made a complaint to Better Business Bureau about it too. Matter of fact, the Better Business Bureau had 42 million complaints from people that have been refused service, and it's just gonna multiply. So, you know, something has to be done too, because the people live in Toronto that maybe they might, you know, work with the company like a construction company or a major refrigeration company that fix commercial refrigeration and stuff like that, and all of a sudden and they get told they can't dine in a restaurant in Hamilton. That's what's happening, happening here, because I live in Toronto. That's very unfair. I feel if that attitude continues, I think a lot of restaurants are going to be out of business. So, that's really unfair. Just because that person works as a construction worker and being denied the right to eat in the restaurant on a lunch break, that's not right at all. I've seen this even downtown, 2 big construction sites. And at lunchtime, the workers are saying this one, well, where are we going to go for lunch today? We don't want to drive back to Toronto just to get, we've been in Jackson Square, they won't serve us. Well, and stuff like that. I heard the workers got mad that we refused service. Yeah. Well, they said, they get mad at that, and so what do they do? Well, I know a couple of workers had actually got in their car and they drive down to 541 Barton Street, fill the place out, and they go, oh yeah, have a lunch later and drive back to work site. And the Sioux car won't, discriminate against that. Even if it's in Toronto. 541 been doing Barton, there's been a lot of freaking business on Toronto residents. Because they refuse to do that, you know what? That's another thing. Even construction workers here in Hamilton, they've been all of them packing 541 Barton, Eatery Exchange down there because they've been refused service at restaurants in Hamilton, refused service at most major bars. So they're pushing going down to a place like 541 where they can get and have their lunch and drive back to work site again. So that's really not good at all. But Amazon also, you use Crawford deliveries here. Crawford, use Crawford, trucking, Crawford CI delivery service, company used to do all their door-to-door deliveries. What they said was this, and what they done was, they actually said they will not deliver in Toronto unless Toronto moved out of modified stage 2. For a lot of the packages are ending up in Shoppers Drug Mart, and so they will pick up Amazon warehouse in Toronto, drop it off at Shoppers Drug Mart in Hamilton, and tell the resident in Toronto, go there, pick it up down, pick it up, then they get refused entry in stores from Toronto. That's what's been happening because Amazon dropped all deliveries door to door in Toronto during this modified stage 2. So people are trying to get, they're not going to get stuff. Well, that's pretty bad. Even worse, because they said we don't want employees to get sick with coronavirus. Anyway, blog over.